Hello, everyone. It is Friday, the 15th of December, 2023. Friday! Just kidding. I hate my life. I'm kidding about that. I'm being dramatic. Oh my goodness, a lot of frustrating news yet again today. I'll share this. So Clyde do something. Actually, I should have it up. Bluecollar.com. It's just like the title would describe, blue collar workers doing some really freaking good work, possibly. But I'll get into it. I just gotta, because I was gonna share it from my social media, but like, why? If I can just share it with you. Nope. So I'm just looking through my history first to see if it even pops up. Just search his name. I'm not even seeing it up. Maybe it was pulled. Interesting. Very interesting. Oh, no, got it. Okay, I found it.
Down in a 15-minute city without the freedom to roam as you please. And a lot of people are asking, well, what is it that we can actually do about it? Well, it turns out that the elites that want these 15-minute cities, they're going to need us working class
Yes!
actually put them together.
This is what I've been saying for years.
Now, this is a video that's been going around on social media, and this is the fight back against these infrastructures.
An epic beard, by the way. So, already a fan. Oh no, it's not going to play.
These woke elites that want to put us in our own prison, and it's an interesting concept. But why is it that us blue collar or tradespeople are doing this?
Why?
And this gentleman says maybe we shouldn't have to.
Well, look at my videos. Look at me, like, to freaking like the freaking destruction, fucking people on the heritage site behind my house, like at the churches, the cemeteries, the parks, and stuff like that. Places that I go or used to go, even with my friggin' dogs, getting impacted, and even putting friggin' signs up saying no trespassing, do not enter, and this is public access areas, crown land that people should be able to go to. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, this is literally the play-by-play, the rule in the fucking rule book that destroys every fucking society, like everywhere. And you guys are actually like assisting these fucking freaks, like these elitists. Not all elitists, not all rich people are freaks, by the way. I'm just saying that there are a handful of them, unfortunately, that are planted in the Canadian friggin' government and corporations affiliated with them, and also in the US, and also in New Zealand, and also in Australia, and also in UK and France. And wake up, this is international. And I'm already going on a tangent. Sorry, I'll let this guy talk. I'll let Epic Beard talk.
Well, everybody asks, what can we do to fight back against this? Feels like we're not doing anything. Well, it occurred to me that, there's a lot of untapped horsepower in the working class.
Yep.
I mean, this is where all the skilled trades reside.
Yep.
This is where all the truck drivers are. This is where all the mechanics are.
Yep. Construction.
Got a lot of horsepower. The problem,
electricians, plumbers, you friggin' name it. Military, government, like there are like blue collar. Like, you guys have no idea how much actual power you have. I'll let him keep talking because
we don't organize well. For some reason, we're just shit organizers. But I'm going to help with that. See, as of yesterday evening, I am the proud owner of a domain name called bluecollarboycott.com. And as of this morning, I've already reached out to some nerdy types. That's not me. I can't build websites. I'm a knuckle dragon hammer swigger. So I have reached out to some tech types to get a platform launched. And what I envision is that we will begin to post information about organizations, individuals,
Amazing.
woke ass corporations, what projects they're doing, and take a hard look at whether or not we want to staff those projects. Think about it.
There's a lot of work.
We
to
literally
do.
get up every day and strap our boots on and go out and build our own prison, don't we? How do you think they're going to build 15-minute cities without people to pull cable and install cameras and install license plate readers and
Shred the
erect the
trees.
poles and pour the foundations and put the fucking gates up? How are they going to do any of that if people just refuse to staff those projects? And we call out the companies that are taking the contracts to do that kind of shit and refuse to work for those companies. Yeah, boycott, man. We need to bring some Teamsters union energy to the skilled trades. If you're a truck driver, what are you hauling? Where are you hauling it to? Do you know who it's for? Maybe you should refuse that load. Let's say you're a mechanical contractor and there's a cooling tower that's having a little issues at one of these woke ass corporations data centers, one of these people companies that likes to trample all over people's First Amendment. Maybe the data center just gets a little hot because their shit doesn't get fixed right away because they were listed on the naughty list.
Listed on the naughty list, and also there are multiple companies that are working inside of Canada and they don't follow our rules or our systems of governments and stuff like that, because like they're corporations or they're business entities. And so even with surveillance and stuff like that, there is mass surveillance going on even in fucking Ottawa, and the surveillance is other countries doing it, which also includes China. And I'm just saying, I'm not slamming them or condemning. I'm saying there are people that are Chinese, actually, I should say that because it's not the country. There are individuals that are exploiting us, that also do work and hang out with and go to committees and panels and meetings with Bill Blair, our Minister of National Defense, and has been for decades, Justin Trudeau, Melanie Jolie, Chrystia Freeland. These are people that have direct links and other contacts. Patty Hajdu was all to Chinese, so foreign nationals that are exploiting us, surveying us, and they don't care because they're got the stocks and the trades. So this guy is fucking brilliant. Okay. And it's unfortunate that the guys that are the skilled tradesmen, like the guys that are actually going out and doing the hard labor every fucking day, also have to now be like just as educated and informed as people that they're supposed to trust with their taxpayers' money to rely on. Okay. Because like, again, they're doing the fucking work that like makes the country operate, and the sort of the farmers and the teachers and all these people. And so like real estate is now a big business for beta males and simps. And I hate to insult people that are in the real estate business, but there's a guy online too that he was bragging because he was able to go and get a private loan for homes and pay in Ottawa like at cost, so pay like $150,000 to $200,000 for a pre-built home, and then within a year that house, the value. And by the way, because of a private lender and stuff like that, like literally in full, so no mortgage, no anything like that. And these pricks that have the money to do that shit because they're exploiting people. He's like bragging about like having 2 homes that are fully paid for that he bought at cost. So again, like under $200,000 for sure, but the value of these houses are now between like $600,000 and $800,000, for example. And so he has tenants that he's giving like an alarming amount of fucking like rent per month, like $2,500 in rent per month, and he's laughing his way to the fucking bank because even with the interest rates and stuff like that, we're getting impacted. People are getting impacted by the interest rates going triple in the last 5 years, in the last year or two, and that's because of Chrystia Freeland. But like this guy's like saying like, oh, like it's good, like let it happen, like who fucking cares, blah blah blah. Like it's not as bad as you guys think. And then you ask them like, do you have a mortgage? No. Did you buy a home? You know what I mean? Like off the market, like 95 to 99% of Canadians like are able to do? No. Oh, it must be fucking nice. And now are you exploiting people? And I'm gonna blame interest rates and carbon tax and all this stuff to like actually further fucking steal from people. This is what I mean. There's people that are cannibalizing us from the inside and trying to steal from us. And so it's I'm going on all these tangents, but it's nice to have people that are actually like for us. And because I see way too much, and especially in Ontario, of the latter, people exploiting us and stealing.
BlueCollarBoycott.com. You see where I'm going with this?
I'm gonna rewind it.
Cooling tower that's having a little issues at one of these woke ass corporations data centers. One of these people companies that likes to trample all over people's First Amendment. Maybe the data center just gets a little hot because their shit doesn't get fixed right away because they were listed on the naughty list on BlueCollarBoycott.com. You see where I'm going with this? I know we got to start somewhere, but imagine the possibilities. And I know it comes with other implications. I mean, ultimately, yeah, they'll get it done. We're not going to get a full lockdown. I mean, it's unrealistic to assume that we're going to stop everything. However, we can slow their roll.
Yep.
We can make things a lot more expensive, take a lot longer. I mean, if you can't staff a project, it takes a long time to even get people.
That spa in Toronto, okay, that's not going to benefit or like it's not going to Canada or Canadian taxpayers or anyone in the fucking community. It's going towards foreign Europeans and Doug Ford, who has stocks like and shares in this. Like fuck these people already. Peacefully, they're not stepping down. And I'm going to get to this further, but like, and they're trying to push for a civil war, which is ridiculous because throughout history, like this has actually never worked out for anyone, like any of the countries, believe it or not, despite history, because believe it or not, they've lied about that shit too, about a lot of the reasons why there was you know, conflict and unrest and civil war and stuff like that. We're being very misled about that as well. But this is going to usher on emergency acts, war measures acts, things like that, depending on what country you're from, and it's going to make it where there's going to be no fucking election, okay? And we're going to be in a perpetual state of fucking tyranny. And this is what they want, because if there's civil unrest, civil war, things like that, then people that have shares and stocks in this. And again, it's the person that shakes the jar is not even impacted by the ants inside. And so, like I've shared that story before, an analogy with the red ants and the black ants. If they're in a jar, they don't go after each other. But if you shake the jar, then they go after each other, and they identify. And the first, like, they don't go after their own; they go after the other color, which is easy to see. Like that's the easiest one, and it's a mess, and they kill each other, and no requirement for it. And this is what people are doing. There are certain people like Bill Blair and Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, whether he knows it or not, but the other ones do. Chrystia Freeland, Patty Hajdu, Vera Etches, these people are intentionally shaking the jar. Omar Alghabra, Kieran Moore, he's not a fucking health expert, who's still lying to us till this day, even though I've shared memorandums where he even admitted that the fucking masks like don't prevent the spread of COVID, and that there are breakthrough cases even fucking August of fucking 2021, like when they first started coming out in Canada, because we were a little delayed for the general public, not delayed for the first responders. And all during this time too, destruction companies shredding fucking millions of trees in the area. That causes a lot of fucking crimes against humanity, just with that, and not just against humans, against like the other species, the soil, and all for foreign companies to just exploit us. And it's short term. If you look at so many other countries in the world where they've had major city centers that are ghost towns, you need to look at that and the reasoning why and who owned it.
People on the job. I mean, hell, it takes a long time now. Imagine if just 50% of the people that were going to go just up and said, send me somewhere else, boss man. I'm not doing that project.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to be had. There's been so many people delayed. There have been destruction people. Hopefully they're waking up now that shredding trees and stuff like that in areas like that were causing wind damage to homes, and mine included. And we were begging these people to like not do the work on the fucking heritage sites and the churches and stuff like that. Like fix our homes again. Like, and we were offering, because we were desperate, double, triple fucking costs and stuff like that, because everything was fucking inflated during the pandemic and stuff like that. And they were refusing to do this shit. But they were destroying our fucking city and the outskirts and waste in fucking landfills and stuff like that, and not actually helping refurbish or repurpose homes that were already fucking built and stuff like that. And it's just fucking so infuriating to me that there's so much work to be had, and so much repurposing and refurbishing in so many fucking areas, and that's all going fucking. That's all. Yeah, it's crumbling.
And yeah, I mean, nobody wants to lose their job, but if the community grows large enough, I think we can mitigate some of those risks within the community. So it's coming. BlueCollarBoycott.com. Look for it.
So that is inspiring. That is absolutely inspiring. And
yeah, that was great. And you're not at risk of fucking like losing money or work by just refusing to fucking do the work for these fucking schmucks. Okay, they're already millionaires and billionaires, and like I'll reiterate at the fucking top, there are people that are fucking pedophiles, human trafficking fucking schmucks. All right, and enabling and enforcing and part of fucking drug cartels and stuff like that as well. Like if you want to fucking fund that within our own country, this is why I was fucking saying, can you fucking stop? Like already. But again, like this blue collar guy, well done. Like I'm so fucking proud of that. Before I get into other videos, I'll get into yeah, so I already mentioned about Andy Lee. Nothing else since. People are still, some people are pushing back on carbon tax in the Yukon and stuff like that, and it's going nowhere. And that's a scam, I'll reiterate. And so We Are Proud Canada posted, the Trudeau Liberals secretly used your tax dollars to pay influencers $682,000 to promote government policies without disclosing their conflict of interest. So we saw that, and I also shared this, but I also said it's not just the Liberals, We Are Proud Canada, the conservatives did as well. So even things like Rebel News and other organizations, I do believe that they are funded, or there's heavy donations from political parties. And that's why they like to slam certain other political parties and then prop up other ones and their leaders and stuff like that. Whereas you could tell who's paid and bought advertisement by like the propaganda that they push, right? So like for someone like me or Jeremy McKenzie or people like that, it's we're not biased towards a political party. We're not trying to push people up, right? And so, and then we also condemn and slam and call out like all parties, like for if there's bullshit and lies and deceit. Yeah, so another fucking Maxime Bernier from the PPC party, like he shared like the flag that has like, it's not just the pride flag, it's like LGBTQ plus XYZ W whatever. And so there are soldiers that they don't have enough like there's not even enough like fucking helmets to go around or ammo for training and stuff like that, or for war. And but there's enough, but there's now free tampons in the men's bathroom, and there's like a running joke about that too. Like, oh, now that men identify as women, now tampons are free and available in all the fucking bathrooms. Oh yeah. So from the UN, this was from 1976. The UN, the United Nations Habitat 1 plan from 1976. You'll enjoy this if it plays.
Wildlands will be relocated.
Okay, I'll have to start it over.
Humans that once lived on farms and in rural areas, so-called wildlands, will be relocated to cities, now referred to as human settlements.
And the idea is that if you concentrate populations into specific areas or zones, less energy usage, less water usage, and less transportation. So people will have less reason to leave home. They'll stay in their homes. They may even work out of their homes. And so they're not going to be using their cars. They're not going to be using energy. And they're not going to be using water.
Since, as we saw earlier, the UN is not big on property rights, it should come as no surprise that the first private property to be phased out will be single-family homes, what socialists at UN headquarters consider suburban sprawl. Instead, we the people will live in apartments and condos in megacities near railroad. Humans that once lived on farms.
And that girl looked like such a Karen. She looked like such an elitist Karen that like sips her tea and has like never gone through any fucking hardship, like never even like had like a temperature, like a drastic temperature change. Like just living a fine life. And then literally talking about us like living like slaves and like the lockdowns and stuff like that with the pandemic, the plandemic. This was all to get us even more adjusted and accustomed and wanted and desire to stay in our little fucking slave cage. And even like Bill Gates said the other day, or whenever it was just released the other day, he's the biggest contributor of greenhouse gas emissions and pollution like in the fucking planet, like if you want to compare it at the individual level. And these are and he's the one that funds the UN, World Health Organization, all of these other fucking philanthropy friggin' groups, right? And people like him. And he's not a good person. I will reiterate that. And he's they name these friggin' organizations, like different things to make it look like they're good, but they're they're not. Not for us, anyways.
If you follow that case at all and you sort of push a tiny bit, like, well, okay, what's his crime? He spent 4.5 years in the most the worst prison in the UK. What has he been charged with in the UK? Nothing. He has not been charged with a crime in Great Britain. Period. And so why is he in jail? Well, because the US government is trying to indict him, and the British government has agreed to hold him in a maximum security cell in isolation until that's resolved. Well, like, what is this? And then you find out that before he was charged with any crime in the United States, that Mike Pompeo, who was the director of the CIA, decided to kill him, to assassinate him before he'd been charged with a crime. And then you think to yourself, wait a second, are federal appointees in my country allowed to use my tax dollars to murder people who embarrass them?
No.
I don't think they're allowed to do that. In fact, I think that's a felony.
Yes, that is a felony.
Mike Pompeo is not in jail. In fact, he's bombing around to the same donors that, they all go to.
Yep.
And not just on the right, but I mean, Nikki Haley's donors, but they're also Chuck Schumer's donors. And those people are all cool with that. That our government, using our money in our name, would murder a guy because he dared to embarrass them by uncovering actual crimes that they committed. And everyone knows this, and no one has a problem with it. And none of that is speculation. It's all been proven. And Mike Pompeo was confronted with the fact that he discussed at CIA as its director murdering Julian Assange. And his response was, anybody who leaked that information is guilty of a crime because you violated our classification laws. Really? What about the guy who was
that's a lie.
discussing on public property as a public official murdering somebody using federal funds? That's not a crime? Are you freaking it's too crazy for me. I can't deal with it. So once I started to learn more about that, I was like, I'm just going over there. And I love his wife. As Giselle is I'm sure you know her, but just really a smart and humane and just decent, good person. And it just bothered me so much that I literally I didn't have a job. I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything. So it takes 5 hours to get there. I just flew over and went to see him. And it was worse than I imagined. But in the case of Assange, like, if you follow that case at all and you sort of push a tiny bit, like, well, okay, what's his crime? He spent 4.5 years in the worst prison in the UK. What has he been charged with in the UK? Nothing. He has not been charged with a crime in Great Britain. Period. And so why is he in jail? But in the case of... Good morning, everyone.
Christians care about the Jews. Christians care about the Jews in Israel.
Right.
Christians care about the Jews in Israel, but not the Christian genocides in Armenia and Ukraine. Why?
I'm going to give you the uncomfortable truth of why I think that is. It's Christians who are being persecuted. I'll share another uncomfortable truth. It's a little controversial, but it's why you don't hear about the Christians being persecuted in Ukraine. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the legislature banned the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. It's the same pattern. Where's our media? Where's both of our political parties? Our media just steamrolls right through 120,000 Armenian Christians, the oldest Christian nation in the world, displaced. And here's the even dirtier little secret at the heart of that. We're paying for it.
Christians care about the Jews in Israel. Christians care about...
God, why is it just like... Okay. So even regarding that with the Christians in Holodomor, like millions of Ukrainian Christians were intentionally starved out and stuff like that, and even now within Canada, there are like since 2021 alone, there have been dozens of Christian churches that have been targeted and burned down, and Christians targeted. Even the freaking school shooting, like by that trans person in the U.S., that was a target against Christians, and no one is fucking talking about that, right? And so it's a little frustrating. And these are all also things, again, like there are people that want us to get into a civil war, like I've reiterated, and it's by design. This fake and staged planned alien invasion shit, this is still like another possibly decade down the line. There's still a lot of like seed planting to go along with that. But like with the Barack Obama terrible movie that I will not watch, there's that's planting seeds too for civil war. And so is that other dumb movie that like is coming out in next year at some point that I won't watch. But it's just fear-mongering porn to, again, like to warn us about stuff that I've been warning you guys about now for fucking years, but they're lying about about how this stuff will be executed. So let's see if this plays.
Be that much
And I've been talking about cyber warfare literally since 2016 on the record, and had training packages out to mitigate against it and stuff like that. As part of my packages, because I taught standing rapid deployment team courses, hostile environment awareness training courses, and cyber was one of the things where I'm like, we need to fucking get on this. And literally since 2016, no one has reached out about these fucking cyber, like the cyber training.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic.
All right, so what would happen if all of the power in our country went out at the exact same time? Now, this is the question posed in Dennis Quaid's new documentary called Grid, Down, Power Up. And spoiler alert, things would not go that well. Take a look.
Virtually every study you'll see has an anarchistic component that leads to rioting. It is almost inevitable.
Imagine what will happen if there's no food, no power, and no money, and no transportation. Only people with guns and the boldness to go and take what they need to survive will live.
It could literally end civilization as we know it.
Cyber attack, an EMP, even a massive solar flare. They're all capable of exposing our power grid as America's Achilles heel.
All right, joining us now, Dennis Quaid, along with the producer of the film, David Tyson, is with us. Thank you both. By the way,
Thanks for having us, Sean.
Dennis, I am a fan of yours. What's amazing about you,
Same here.
You could be the greatest father of the year in The Parent Trap and be the biggest jackass father in, I can only imagine. I mean, that shows great acting ability. Great to have
Yes,
you.
what a range.
That's a range. That's a lot of range. Okay, what interested you in this? We hear about Go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's something I'd read about and chilled me quite a few years ago. And then David Tice, who I've worked with before, came to me about something that concerned him, too, to make this documentary on our electrical grid, to make people aware of how vulnerable it is. We've only been... before 1920, we all lived in the dark, and I guess we were quite used to it. But
No, and this guy here, like oh my God, like he's again a puppet. He's just really good at memorizing things. He's a great actor, okay, but like, why do you get these fucking actors that are good at memorizing things? Like, they're not. This is not your critical thinker, okay? He's not it.
we're happening to a day like a solar.
We've had advanced civilizations before that used like we're harnessing electrical magnetic energy within their fucking structures. This guy has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Even with Benjamin Franklin, did not fucking discover electricity. None of that stuff. No. Even in the hieroglyphs I've shared, there's electrical magnetic poles in the fucking designs thousands of years ago, ladies and gentlemen. Like, come on.
Or flare event or an attack on.
And there's no flares. There's no solar flares. Look at the fucking sun. It's a flat Earth, flat stationary Earth, luminaries, not 93 million light miles away. Like, none of this fucking, anyway, just.
On our substations, them going out. We have blackouts, which we all know and have lived through, but it could take down the entire, at an EMP event, could take down the entire grid of the United grid of the United States, and within 30 days, we'd be back in the Stone Age again.
Well, walk through where this documentary will take us. If it was an EMP event, electromagnetic pulse attack, which I think I'm hoping and praying and assuming that our government is preparing for, but that would knock out all the power in this country. That's a frightening scenario.
Yeah, it really is. There's 3 grids in this country, the Eastern, Western, and the Texas has its own grid. And they're quite vulnerable. It would not take much. There's a Carrington event with a solar flare, which in 1859 knocked out all of the telegraph lines, which was about the only kind of electrical thing we had back then in Europe and the United States. And, this means all the refrigeration would go out just like that, all of power stations. We wouldn't be able to have access to food or communication. And, from that, chaos is going to erupt. And it's something we're very vulnerable with. And there's an easy fix to it that we can do now.
It almost reminds me of the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington. That kind of scenario where it just, whoever's left it's just total anarchy. David, what got you interested in this project, and why was Dennis the perfect fit for you?
Well, I got interested in this project because I realized I was a NASA grandfather. When I was making the film, realized my grandkids were 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Houston, we have a problem. We have a problem if we don't fix this grid, because my grandkids need to live a long life. And frankly, a solar flare, there's a 12% probability every decade that a significant solar flare could essentially take out our grid. So I've been worried about this for a long time. And as far as Dennis, we know everybody loves Dennis, from the Parent Trap to The Rookie. He is incredibly intelligent and, gifted with his knowledge of the system and capitalism. And he recognizes that we have a problem, but he believes in the American spirit where we can fix this.
Yeah, I'm like a mini prepper. I've got 2 huge generators, in part so I could broadcast if, God forbid, such a thing happens. I wonder even if they would work, and I have, thousands of gallons of propane underground for that reason. But when you think about it, I don't think most people are prepared, don't even have enough food, Dennis, to last a week. Never,
right.
And what happens to the food supply? What happens to pretty much every aspect of our lives?
Every aspect of our lives that we just take for granted every day is we're going to have to deal with in another way, and it won't be good. And there's a way to fix this. This is something that our government could do. It's definitely a nonpartisan issue, that's for sure, to protect our substations, sort of like in a way that surge protectors, we have them on our televisions, we have them for our computers. We could install these in our substations that would protect us from if an event like this happened.
I'm glad both of you did this, because I do believe this is a real threat. And I think you're right. They need contingency plans, and if they don't have them up to date, ready to go at a moment's notice, this country could be vulnerable to attacks that we never dreamed of. Where can people...
Actor Dennis Quaid has done it all. From dramas to comedies, you've seen him in classics like The Right Stuff, Any Given Sunday. He even played Jerry Lee Lewis.
I keep my nails and I play with my thumb. I'm real nervous, but it sure is fun. Come on, baby, it's driving me crazy. The goodness raises balls of fire.
But Dennis Quaid's now done something that nobody's ever been able to do: scare the heck out of Jesse Waters. Quaid has a new documentary out, Grid Down, Power Up, which explores the frightening possibility of our energy's grid going down.
Heat, gas for our cars, transportation for food restocking, All of it relies to some extent on electricity. But no one likes to focus on what could happen if it all suddenly is taken away.
Star of the upcoming Amazon film On a Wing and a Prayer, Dennis Quaid joins me now. So people have tried to take out our energy grid. There was some sort of attack with weapons many years ago in California.
There's been several attacks on substations. I heard about one a couple of months ago. And this is not day after tomorrow, by the way. This is tomorrow, I think. It could happen. And it's a problem that we could fix. It's basically this. In 2003, right here in New York, there was a wire that brushed up against a tree limb, and it took out the electricity for New York for 2 days. That was just a small little event, but at a GMT event, like a bad actor could take.
And people are trying, like the Carrington events that I've talked about for literally years on the record, EMPs, like it's literally on my fucking whiteboard that I did over a year ago and left it because like this stuff is still like, there's still things like on the go to happen. But HARP and DARPA HARP absolutely will be involved in the power grid fucking going down and other agencies like FEMA, unfortunately. You can't make this shit up. And it's not everyone within, obviously, but there are certain people from within that are plants, embedded moles, whatever the fuck you want to call them, that are the ones that are in the rooms, like when there's decision making done, and they are literally getting fed the fucking lines to convince people to do shitty fucking things. And there are people within Canada, like even my network, you know what I mean, that talk big and say like and there's a lot of people that are slamming people for exploiting us, like even like that, like to the extent of like suffering and death for people. But I'm also giving them examples. I'm like, okay, so these are people. It's not to defend them at all, but it's again just to understand that have fucking millions and billions of dollars and so much wealth and entitlement and privilege, and they're getting brainwashed into thinking that they're literally gods or superior, like the superior race of fucking humans. Believe it or not, again, this is all bullshit. We're all fucking light in motion. This is like an electromagnetic reality. And no one is above anyone else in this fucking game, unfortunately. But again, when you're brainwashed to believe that in this game, it complicates things. And they're exploiting and abusing. Not everyone is. There are good people within these groups as well, but there are people from within that are disgusting human beings that don't care, and they're exploiting people, right? And so when I give examples of even companies within Canada that are trying to take an extra tank or two a year off of fucking farmers, off of regular citizens, you know what I mean? And that's stealing money off of people, right? To like get more off the fucking top. Or these pricks that are ruining the fucking like the real estate, like the housing market as well, because there are people, especially in Ottawa, these fucking assholes that exploited the pandemic and use that money to buy homes at cost, pre-fucking built, in full, and pushing also like the inflation up and stuff like that, and exploiting people like they're like and giving these houses like where even if they were paying a mortgage on this, for example, it would be less than $1,000, and they're fucking renting them out to people at $2,500 fucking dollars. So these are schmucks, okay, and these are people that are not even millionaires yet, but that just had a bit of fucking money, and they used it to literally fuck over other Canadians. And a lot of these people that do this too, they're not even Canadians, all right, or they're new to Canada, and it's not this, and it is fucking what it is. It's just a fucking fact. And so if you want to take that a certain way, that's on you. Okay, but when I say the sky is fucking blue, I don't care if you're offended or not. It's a fucking reality, all right? That's on you. And find fucking God if like things like that offend you. If facts offend you, find God. Like, just gotta fucking leave it at that. And so I'm like, well, who are you to talk? Like you're fucking slamming, like you're conservative, like blaming the liberals when you're abusing your wife, or you're cheating on your fucking wife, or you're beating your fucking kids, or you're like not having a family and settling down, and you're lying to women just to fuck them, and then swipe fucking right on your next fucking Tinder conquest, or again, or like trying to steal from people even more, like pushing carbon tax. It's a fucking lie. All of this stuff, pushing fucking wars because like again, like you're getting stocks out of this. What's wrong with you? And these are all people that don't know what it's like to be on the other side. Okay, so there's no empathy, there's no understanding. It's literally just fucking parasites. And so like, and there's even unfortunately people that are not even millionaires that with a little bit of fucking wealth and a little bit of opportunity, they will fuck over everyone also. And so if these people fucking made it to the millionaire billionaire club, they'd be the exact same fucking human trafficking, pedophile, drug fucking smuggling fucking losers like these asshole plants that are within our government and within American government and stuff like that, right? These are the people they fucking get. And imagine these people. Like, I'm glad, like these types of fucking people don't have the money, because Bill Gates is a bad human being, and but with great wealth and power. Like again, like it's the opportunity and the temptation, and that's why I would never take shares in stocks and companies, even knowing and calling out the fucking business now for years. I would not exploit people, you know, during a hard fucking time and like double, triple their fucking rent, like even though that doesn't impact me at all. Like these are all people that like they're gonna be judged by God, and they think they're not, and there's gonna be no rapture. Okay, like no one's getting fucking saved, and especially not the people that are exploiting people. I'm going on all these tangents. So yeah, like everyone thinks that this is just a problem with like the elites and the elitists and stuff like that. Like, but it's individuals, and at the individual level, like what you'd be willing to do to get ahead.
Out through a Chinese balloon, for all we know, or
so they could have put a little something on that balloon, exploded it over the United States, and we lose power for how long?
Well, it could be up to like 30 days. But what we're talking about is a nuclear explosion up in space, a nuclear explosion in the atmosphere above the United States.
And there's a dome firmament above, so there's nothing that can penetrate it and go beyond. And so that again is just bullshit. And this is where, like, if there's going to be some kind of like an attack, EMP, cyber attack, whatever you want to call it, outages, it's going to be by like there's going to be facilitation with organizations like HAARP.
Could unleash a burst of invisible electrical energy that within a fraction of a second could wash over this country and overload all of our most sensitive electronic devices, including the nation's power grid.
Just 30 days without electricity, it would take us back to 1880, and you wouldn't be able to get gas, you wouldn't be able to get food. You know, the police would stay home, take care of their own families. We'd be.
And you can't even survive 3 days without water, and it would affect the water system as well.
Yes, exactly. We keep talking about it, but nothing ever gets done.
Again, the question I'd ask, what have we've taken it seriously, what have we actually done other than literally admire the problem?
There are plans for hurricanes, there are plans for snowstorms, there are plans for earthquakes. There is no plan for a cyber attack that would be infinitely longer in duration and more widespread than any of those natural disasters.
Energy companies don't want to pay for it. The utilities companies don't want to pay for it. It's something that we could put in our budget over time, and we get about $50 billion of a $5 trillion budget that we have. But over time, this is something that if it does happen, it's going to make the COVID look like a kid show.
Wow. I mean, 50 billion, we send that to Ukraine in about a week.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be that much to do.
While the ground war continues in Ukraine, there's another war to watch out for.
Yeah, a cyber one. Cities across the country are warning people about a possible Russian cyber attack here in the U.S. CBS 17 consumer investigator Steve Spraccia joining us now with this. And Steve, what do we need to do to make sure that we safeguard ourselves?
A number of steps we can take. The bottom line, Rod, a Russian cyber attack can be crippling to both individuals and companies and virtually shut down.
Of course, they have to throw in Russia in there as well. They're throwing in all of it.
On a way of life.
Fuck these people. And even these like new movies that are coming out, they're painting Texas and California as being partners in this or together, and they're making like CNN, like the mainstream media, out as fucking heroes. The fucking joke. These fucking these killers of humans, these liars, like these spreaders of misinformation and disinformation are not fucking heroes. And people are, I've signed petitions to defund CBC. They're disgusting. And that's why I do this on a fucking regular basis as I do, because there's liars that are in cabinet. There's liars that are mainstream media, even global fucking news, even Rebel News. Okay, it's not just CTV and CBC and fucking like the lib shit. It's a lot of the mainstream people. And anyway.
And I've learned how Russian attackers can use our own computers to stage such an attack, or conversely, hold everything in our computers for personal ransom.
No way.
The average person on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should we be about this right now?
At 11.
We all remember the Colonial Pipeline shutdown when Russian hackers crippled our gas supply for days. But security expert Craig Petronella says this time around, it could be far worse.
So I do think that they're going to do blanket attacks, which means that they're going to scan for low-hanging fruit.
One low-hanging fruit, your cell phone, where hackers will use robocalls to infect thousands of phones.
Those are definitely effective methods of mass distribution of malware and different bad files and data destruction.
Because our phones are synced to our computers, that malware can migrate from them and go after big corporations by creating a denial of service attack, which crashes their systems.
They basically have all these slave computers all ready to go, and then they just push a button and then they all attack, at one time.
And your own computers can also be held for ransomware.
We have a lot of pictures and different data, right? And they want that data, and that data is typically important to us. So they're going to try to ask for some type of extortion to lock up your stuff.
Petronella says, back up your photos and other critical data with several different vendors, or better yet, on a device not even connected to the internet. In addition to backups to protect yourself, you should use automatic fraud call blocking on your phones, use PIN codes on your accounts, don't click on links in text messages, and use complex, hard-to-guess passwords.
But don't reuse those passwords. To keep track of all those different complex passwords you're using, use a password manager app and change those passwords frequently. We can't emphasize that enough. These days, we all have to become our own cybersecurity cops to protect ourselves.
The same people like with the international alerts and stuff like that, these are people that are controlling us to have access to do those warnings and alerts on our phones.
For you, I'm consumer investigator Steve Sbracia.
It is hard to keep up with all those passwords, though.
Really
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's tough, but a necessary thing to do, Steve.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on this Thursday night. We begin tonight with a significant cyber attack taking place across the nation and around the world. Federal agencies, state governments, and major universities have been hit with a campaign of data theft and ransomware. CBS News has confirmed that the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is providing support to agencies that have been targeted. Johns Hopkins University and its health system says the data breach may have impacted sensitive personal and financial information.
Johns Hopkins, which is also the ones that tabled CLADEX, Plandemic Tabletop Training Exercise 201, 18th October 2019. CLADEX was before that. Come on.
Information, including contact information and health billing records. Now, there's no confirmation about what group or country is behind the intrusions, but U.S. intelligence believes a criminal organization operating inside Russia is responsible. CBS's Catherine Herridge has been speaking with her sources. She'll start us off tonight from right here in Washington. Good evening, Catherine.
Good evening, Nora. A senior U.S. government official.
Her sources is her teleprompter.
Told reporters there is no evidence to date the U.S. military and intelligence agencies have been compromised, but a number of federal agencies have been hit.
Tonight, senior government officials are racing to limit the impact of what one cyber expert is calling potentially the largest theft and extortion event in recent history. American targets include multiple federal agencies, including the Department of Energy, plus Johns Hopkins affiliated hospitals in Maryland and Florida, Georgia's statewide university system, and the Minnesota Department.
Of course, they had to say Department of Energy. Sorry, it's hard to see the friggin' screen because of the sun, but I like it because it's healing. Fuck, I've lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the Department of Energy. That would be the first, like these people, okay, that'd be like someone within that organization, within that agency, okay, like fucking vet everyone there, ask questions, interview and interrogate these fucking people, and see who they're affiliated with, and because within the energy sector, like they could be the ones that like claim like a cyber attack or initiate one, implement one, and then blame it on blame it on Russia, like it's or China, like it's a fucking joke. It's not a joke. It's terrifying. It keeps me up every night, to be honest with you. But, you know, this is fucking life now.
Department of Education. British Airways was also hit. Officials say the hackers are part of a cyber criminal gang called Clop, believed to operate from inside Russia.
They've started releasing some of the data that was stolen as part of their work to extort these companies. We strongly encourage anyone who is a user of this software to, of course, patch, lock down their systems.
The cyber criminals are exploiting a software program called MoveIt, which companies and government agencies use to transfer data, including personal information. The group steals the data, and in this message, believed to be from the hackers, warns that if a ransom is not paid, after 7 days, all your data will start to be published, sometimes on the dark web. Cyber expert Brett Callow says foreign adversaries and criminals will be looking to leverage the data.
Overseas governments will no doubt be very interested in obtaining the information that Clop obtained through these attacks.
The FBI and the government's cybersecurity agency last week warned companies to be on alert for this kind of attack. Former intelligence officials told CBS News the threat has been circulating for weeks, and they accused the U.S. government of being slow to act, Nora.
The White House has urged private sector businesses to bolster their cybersecurity defenses, and even Americans at home are being warned to stay on alert. KENS 5 consumer reporter Nicole Kahn joins us now with how best to protect yourself. Nicole?
Deborah, the president asked businesses of all kinds to harden their cyber defenses immediately. An attack on critical infrastructure systems could make life difficult. A ransomware attack hit the Bear Appraisal District Sunday. The staff is working to restore all systems. The FBI was notified. I spoke with the appraisal district today and was told it was too early to tell if the attack is related to a Russian cyber attack. It will take a few days to completely restore all.
People are blaming it on China. People are blaming it on Russia. And they're like, it's too early to tell. Allegedly, like, where's your fucking science? Where's your experts? Can we start name them now? People are doing this in Canada. Like, it's fucking hilarious. Like, who's your sources? Who said this? What publication? What did you read? They have nothing. It's fish kisses because they're going off a fucking teleprompter. This is like
all the files, and the district's website is not affected and can be used. I also reached out to CPS Energy to ask about its cybersecurity defenses, but got no response. It's not just businesses that can be a target of cyber attacks. Regular people can also be hit. Fraud expert Michael Skiba says this device, the one we use daily, is particularly vulnerable to being hacked.
We are seeing a lot more of phishing and malware attacks being precipitated on mobile phones, because we know that people spend a lot of time on their phones, number one. And number two, just physically, it's smaller text. It's harder to read. So, you might miss certain misspelling, or you might click on something that you might not normally click if you were to see an email in a laptop or computer setting.
The best protection is to take action now. Do the following. Make sure you are using strong passwords. Back up all your important files. Update all of your devices, including phones, tablets, computers, and laptops. Think very carefully before you click on any links or attachments in your email or text. Don't use public.
Like, look at these people. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm watching this with you. I watched a little bit of it, but I was going to watch this with you. But protect yourself from cyber attacks. Use strong passwords. Back up all essential files. Update software on all devices. Bitch, fucking find a water source, find a fucking heating source, find a fucking shelter. Make sure you are fucking, you have like the bare necessities, okay? And like, make sure you're protected in case people want to fucking pillage or whatever, you know what I mean? And like, be prepared, okay? That if there's any kind of fucking power outages or cyber attacks, to have like fuel and water and food, maybe for at least a fucking month or 2 months, you know what I mean? What the fuck? Get a generator. Okay, so get some backup fucking oil, like cut some fucking wood, get some wood on standby if you have a fucking fireplace, just in case, like you do, like, heating with propane or whatever like that, and don't you really use a fireplace that much? You like, what is she like? What is this?
Internet if you can avoid it. Plus, password protect your home Wi-Fi. And just to be on the extra safe side, prepare like you would for a natural disaster. That means having extra food, water, batteries, and cash on hand. Plus, keep your car's gas tank full. Should the electric grid go down, it's going to be difficult to do anything, including using a credit card or any electronic device. Remember last year's February winter storm when the power went out? Yeah. Just be ready for that scenario again, just in case. Nicole Kahn, KENS 5.
You're warning about the cyber pandemic. How much worse did the COVID-19 pandemic make all of this as the digital economy moved online?
Good afternoon. Great to be here. And indeed, the COVID period made ransomware much, much worse than it was before. We've seen an attack of over 93% in ransomware attack compared to a year ago. You've quoted the average ransom that's being paid.
Like, come on. Awarded the Israel Prize for contributions to the Israeli tech industry and philanthropy.
Which is not trivial anymore. We were talking about starting from hundreds of thousands of dollars on enterprises and going up to tens of millions of dollars on paid ransom.
What are the consequences of all this, besides the fact that companies and potentially governments are going to have to pay these ransomware attacks or pay up in Bitcoin to get their data? What ultimately is going to happen with all this data that's been stolen?
I think the first, many of these attacks are activated by private organizations, private criminals, but some of these attacks are also behind them. There is government-sponsored attack. And second, I mean, we've already seen with the Colonial Pipeline and with many others, it's not just stealth of data. It's shutdown of critical infrastructure. And we've seen it with Colonial Pipeline, we've seen it with hospitals, we've seen it with factories that were shut down. And that's something that we should be really, really worried about, especially if it's used by not just by people that want our money, but by terrorist organizations or foreign governments that I'm sure are watching that and have more, bigger powers than what we've seen so far.
To what extent, Gil, has Bitcoin and crypto more broadly allowed these attacks to take off onto a new tier because of the sort of lack of money laundering controls and regulation?
I wouldn't blame Bitcoin about that. I think the situation on cyber started way before Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, like many other modern infrastructures, allowed the attackers to monetize in a better way. But again, I'm in this business for now almost 30 years, and we've seen an increase all the time, even before Bitcoin was invented.
So who are the worst actors? Which countries? What type of entities?
I think that the situation is it's not who are the worst attackers, but the fact that once an electronic tools of attack is being used, everybody can get access to it. And in many cases, it's being sold. There are networks that you can really go in and rent the attack tools. You don't have to be the hacker. You don't have to be the sophisticated tech guy. You need to be the one that will, by the way, the business model.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great uncle Walter?
It's an interesting question because it was primarily a movement from Eastern Europe, but they didn't clarify who was in charge of that movement. And in addition, it was after all in Great Britain. So they felt that the Rothschild family should be the one to whom it was addressed. Walter was Lord Rothschild and he was a Zionist. And those really are the background reasons.
So Walter received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Unbuttled on everyone.
Deal with favor the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object.
In modern Jewish history, and it begins with three
So
words.
Jacob Rothschild, my family created Israel, a modern. Anyway, the Balfour Declaration. I've talked about that many, many times before. I just thought that you'd find that interesting. Sorry for going on a tangent on a different one, but just like more people like literally admitting this out loud, and no one wants to believe it.
There is revenue share. It's like 50-50 or 60-40 between the people who develop the tool and the people who are actually activating that. And that's one of the worst thing about cyber attacks, that basically every kid in the world can have access to strategic weapons that may have been developed. By the way, we've seen some of these tools have been developed even by the US government and used against the US a year or two later. Yeah.
Well, the majority of cyber security experts and 4 in 5 business leaders fear a catastrophic cyber event is likely in the next 2 years. It's the troubling prediction made by the latest Global Cybersecurity Outlook report released by Accenture and the World Economic Forum. Joining me to explain more on this is Jackie Curnow, Accenture Security Lead for Australia and New Zealand. Thanks for your time. So, catastrophic. Presumably, this is a lot worse than what we saw in Medibank Private. I mean, that's been catastrophic for some people, I suppose. But what's an example of something like that?
Well, it's a great question, actually, and it's such a broad answer to the question. But really, anything that has a really significant impact on infrastructure, roads, traffic control, air traffic control, physical security, water, energy, telecommunications, etc., or obviously, disruptions to financial systems. So any or all of the above could be catastrophic for us and for other countries.
Everything's linked, everything's online, everything's digital, and I guess that's great when it's working, but makes these systems more vulnerable. When we're predicting where this will happen, I suppose, because this is a global report, do you think Australia is vulnerable? Do you think Australia will be targeted, for example, the way we are standing up for China? Or is it just if you have weak systems, no matter what country you are, then you'll be targeted?
I think it's probably a bit of column A and a little of column B. I don't think Australia is less or more vulnerable than many other countries. Certainly in terms of infrastructure, we're kind of mid-range. Our cybersecurity awareness could be better as a country, and that's often because we're such a safe country. It's very safe to go to the corner shop at 3 in the morning in most places in Australia, not so much elsewhere, but we don't realise the internet is kind of like stepping into the middle of nowhere. You could be in a war zone in terms of what's going on. And the second thing, obviously, in terms of, where it would happen and are we more vulnerable, perhaps because we don't have the level of awareness and the level of technology investment here that some countries do, that does make us more susceptible for sure.
By the way, before COVID, did you ever think that you and I were going to go through an epidemic or a pandemic where we're going to be told that, we're going to shut down everything, you're going to be working from home, you better quarantine, put the mask on, have gloves on, when you're going out there, don't touch this, don't do that, kids stay home. Did you think that, did that thought even cross your mind? When 2019 was going into 2020 and you're preparing in December, did you say, honey, we better be ready for a potential pandemic to happen? We did not think about it. And then all of a sudden, boom, we were hit with it, right? So one thing no one's talking about that is very likely that could happen, a power outage. So imagine power outage happens. No light, no fridge, food is no longer good, no phone charger, phone is done.
I would like to talk to him as well. Valuetainment, Tat, but I don't know, he and I are different sides of what he's talking about. We're regarding Israel and Palestine, we've just had conflicting views on that. And so I don't know if he would even entertain that, but it would be interesting if he did.
No internet, what happens to your life? FYI, come on, Pat. That would never happen to us. So let me give you our score on how good we're doing with power energy system. The American Society of Civil Engineers, which gave the U.S. energy system a C- on great on its 2021 infrastructure report card, said that the grid investment trends will eventually lead to a funding gap of almost $200 billion in 2029. And also in 2021, threat assessment from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence stated that Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea have the capability to cause harm to the energy grid. What? Also at the same time, the Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, confirmed that America's adversaries possess the capability to shut down the grid. What? We're going to talk about that today. Okay, so if you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into it. I'm going to give you some good news and some bad news. Here's some good news for you. The good news is the average U.S. electricity consumer experience of interruptions annually remained consistently at around 2 hours per year from 2013 to 2021. We're lucky. If you look at these charts here, this right here shows us the blue is with major events. The navy blue is without major events. Of course, 2017, 2020, 2021, maybe weather, maybe additional things that happened. We experienced a little bit, but around 2 hours per year on average. Now, here's the bad news. The bad news is much of the U.S. electric grid was built in the 60s and the 70s. We're talking 70 years ago is when it was built. Currently, over 70% of the U.S. electricity grid is more than 25 years old, according to the White House. So we've updated almost everything. Yeah, let's upgrade this, upgrade that. Our electricity grid, 70% of it hasn't been updated for more than 25 years. What? Really? Maybe it's something no president's looking at, right? They're like, well, it's not really a threat. We shouldn't look at this here. Now you may say, come on, Pat, of course the government's going to be paying attention to this kind of stuff because this is not on us. This is not free market. We don't do this right now. Somebody else could maybe figure it out. This is the government's responsibility and us taxpayers. We'll pay our taxes. Yeah, I think they kind of know what they're doing in D.C., Pennsylvania, right? I mean, they're smart people. We elected them. Watch this. On October 18, 2023, Biden-Harris administration announced $3.5 billion for largest ever investment in America's electric grid. You know what the budget was? The deficit was at that time? $1.7 trillion. What is $3.5 billion? Not a lot. So now, where is our vulnerability? Like, where are some areas we should be worried about? Number one, extreme weather, abnormal heat or cold, tornadoes, hurricanes, flood or storms, major power outages from weather-related events in the U.S. increased by 67% since 2000. Number two, cybersecurity. The 2020 Homeland Threat Assessment from the Department of Homeland Security stated that China has the capability and possible intent to compromise the energy grid. What would that look like? Would China want to do that? If they did, wouldn't they probably blame somebody else like they did with COVID when it came out from Wuhan? And they said, no, it probably came from some kind of a, other place, but it's not us, it's somebody else. You think China would take responsibility for it? Of course not. They haven't for the recent one. You think they're going to for this? Number three is EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, also referred to as a transient electromagnetic disturbance. TED is a brief burst of electromagnetic energy. The origin of EMP can be natural or artificial and can occur as an electromagnetic field. There are two potential sources for an EMP: the deliberate detonation of a nuclear device in the atmosphere above the Earth or a massive solar flare. The consequences of either could range from a few days without power to life-changing. Number four is actual physical attacks on power grid, which rose by 71% last year compared to 2021. The Department of Energy strategy does not include a complete assessment of all the cybersecurity risks to the grid. By the way, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission does not have a good understanding of the scale of the potential impacts from the impact. And in the first 8 months of 2022, the U.S. electrical grid was physically attacked 107 times. So let's actually go through the process. And by the way, this is not like a horror movie you're watching. You're probably listening to this saying this is very possible. And you and I, just like one day, they say death and taxes are the two guarantees in life. This is why you should own life insurance. And this is why you should pay your taxes, because those two things we're going to have to do, right? Watch this. What would happen if the power grid actually did go down? Number one, immediate disruption would be a loss of electricity in affected areas. This would disrupt the normal functioning of various aspects of our daily life, including traffic lights, public transports, businesses, hospitals, communication networks, and more. Number two, water supply. Many water supply systems rely on electric pumps. Without electricity, water treatment plants may not function, potentially leading to a lack of clean water and increased risk of waterborne diseases. Number three, transportation. Traffic lights would go out, leading to traffic jams and potentially accidents. Electric trains and subway would halt. Fuel stations might not be able to pump gas, leading to a shortage of fuel for vehicles. Number four, communication. Cell towers have backup generators, but they can run out of fuel if not replenished. This could disrupt mobile phone service and the internet, hampering emergency response and communication among the public. Number five, healthcare. While hospitals have emergency generators, a prolonged outage could endanger patients, especially those in intensive care units or those dependent on powered medical devices. Number six, food supply. Refrigeration would be lost, leading to spoilage of perishable foods. Without a functioning transportation system, the movement of goods would be hampered, leading to shortages in grocery stores. By the way, we saw the food supply during COVID. It's not like this is just 50 years ago. This just happened 2-3 years ago. Economic impact. Prolonged outages could lead to a significant economic losses as businesses shut down and the cost of response and recovery mounts. Again, this shouldn't be intimidating. This just happened 3 years ago. You know what happened to so many restaurants in America? They had to shut down. What happened to restaurants in California, and New York, and Illinois? They're like, look, we can't make this happen. What can we do with this? They went out of business. Next one, safety and security. An increase in crime, especially looting, could be observed due to reduced surveillance, non-functioning alarm system, and dark streets. Again, this civil unrest happened during COVID just a few years ago. Dependency on backup power. Entities with backup generators would need to rely on them, but fuel could run out if there's no quick resolution to the crisis. Next, cooling and heating. Depending on the season, lack of electricity could result in the inability to heat homes in winter or cool them in the summer, posing health risks to vulnerable populations. Next, environmental concerns. In some cases, power outages could lead to uncontrolled releases from industrial sites affecting air and water quality. Next, long-term impact. If the attack damages critical infrastructure components, it could take weeks or even months to repair, especially if custom components are required. Social implications. A long-term outage could lead to social unrest, decreased trust in government and institutions, and psychological impacts due to the stress of prolonged disruption. By the way, social implications. Have we experienced this? Prolonged disruption, psychological impacts to our kids who were forced to stay home. Imagine what happened to marriages, husband and wife. Like, it was a very messy situation, but a couple of things to be thinking about. So like, Pastor, what's the solution? Well, we got a few things to be thinking about. There's three things that comes to my mind. Number one is we have to vote better leaders. And our job is to bring this issue to the top of who we elect and ask the question in interviews. If you go to a town hall, ask the question, what are you going to do with the power grid in the U.S.? We were not prepared for COVID. Are you? If you're able to go online and ask the question, pose it to other people. Ask it from your elected officials, your congressman, your senator, your governor, your president, everybody, because this should be local to your mayor as well, because the mayor is your city. What are they going to be doing about it in your city? So that's the government level. Number two, business, the company you're working for, ask the question, are we protected? What do we have? What are we looking at with our software? What do we have to be protected against cybersecurity attacks? Are we protected? Is there a department in the company that invests into that? These are conversations that anybody can bring up in the next leadership meeting. You could be one person that sparks this conversation, say, I watch this video. Do you know what we're going through? How are we protected against this? And last but not least, personal. What can you do about it for your family? Is it generator? Is it getting the right insurance policies to protect against identity theft, against somebody stealing your information? All of these things are very realistic. The deep fake, there's so many different ways they're getting people to destroy their lives. But the reality of it is, those three things, you control more of it the lower you go. You control less with the government, less with the company, but you definitely control what you do with your family. So the preparation and the responsibility goes to you and I when it comes to personal, what we can do for us. By the way, to me, these types of conversations, sometimes people watch it like, oh my God, babe, the end of the world. What am I going to be doing? No, the whole idea is to be overly prepared. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. We had a conversation earlier about a script for a movie. I said, we got to be hard on the script. We got to be hard on the content. We got to be, the more prepared we are up front for a party, the more we can enjoy the party. The less prepared you are for a party, you're going to have a miserable party because nothing's going right. So you can't even enjoy your own party. Make sense? So the more prepared we are, yeah, guess what? Future looks bright. If you're not, guess what? It doesn't look bright for those that are not prepared. So do take the time to be prepared for you and your family. If you do that, you don't have a lot to worry about.
Imagine this. Your bank balance has dropped to zero. Your secret data has been wiped out from servers. Stock prices are going crazy. Trains aren't running because the control rooms don't work. Airports are not operating because their computers have been knocked out. You can't drive anywhere because the traffic lights are stuck on red. There's no internet because power routers have been destabilized. Within a matter of hours, your entire country plunges into chaos and you don't even know who's behind it. This is not the story of a movie or a possibility in the distant future. This could happen today in real life. The question is, how are we going to stop it? Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. On the 4th of July, as America celebrated independence, a cyber criminal gang was on a hacking spree. It infiltrated a Florida-based IT firm and launched a ransomware attack. The hackers stole troves of data and demanded $70 million in return. The victims included more than 1,500 organizations around the world, government agencies, small businesses, banks, supermarkets, even schools. It's been called the biggest ransomware attack on record.
The attack over the weekend underscores the need for companies and government agencies as well to focus on improving cybersecurity.
Who was behind this attack? The cybersecurity community says it could be REvil, a group of hackers that was also behind the SolarWinds hack of 2020. That's when a Trojan horse exploited the software of 3 US firms, Microsoft, SolarWinds, and VMware. What happened next? It stole the data of some of the biggest organizations in the world: NASA, NATO, the European Parliament, the British government, the US Treasury Department, the US Telecom Department, and the Department of Commerce. Who exactly were these hackers? Well, no one knows. Some say they're from China, some others say they're from Russia. Their identity remains a mystery.
Who says? All of you, left, right, whatever friggin' party you're from, I don't even care. Who says? This is bullshit.
What does all of this tell you? That the world is entering a new age of warfare, one that could change everything that we know about human conflict. They call it cyber warfare. A cyber war is a war fought through computers. It doesn't involve armies. It doesn't have clear rules. It progresses at a very fast pace. A cyber war can be fought in various ways: economic, social, cultural, military. 90% of cyber attacks are economic in nature, targeting banks. North Korea has been at it for a while now. It apparently has a team dedicated to robbing banks.
Yeah, I would say that Chrystia Freeland is committing a lot of economic warfare against the citizens. And I've already talked about carbon tax. It's fucking theft. And even oil companies too. They're like, unless they don't know the reality of the petroleum business and how to get and where you can access it, and like the like all of the stuff that I've shared, because even a lot of physicists and engineer fucking types, they don't know it either anymore. Even in the 1950s, like this messaging was getting indoctrinated into the university systems. And so it would be nice to talk to these fucking people.
The Beagle Boys. Since 2015.
But the annoying thing is with class wars and stuff like that, for some reason, when people think that even when they have like inherited wealth, you know, or wealth because of exploiting people or from their friends and family exploiting people, whatever, that they makes them somehow like superior to people. And I don't understand the logic. Till this day, I do not understand that logic. Must be nice.
They've stolen from at least 30 countries. In 2016, they stole $81 million from the Bank of Bangladesh. In 2018, they stole 805 million rupees from India's Cosmos Bank based in Pune. Cyber wars are launched for money, also for power through propaganda, misleading the public, sowing disinformation, the kind of cyber warfare that Russians are said to have aced. They've been accused of meddling in the 2016 US presidential election, of manipulating voter database, hacking the...
And we all know that was a lie. It's coming out now more. But anyways, this is just to give you like an example, like of all the news media outlets that are planting seeds and have been for years. All this stuff in digital IDs.
On a journey which can only be described as miraculous. At first, we were hunters, then gatherers. Eventually came farms and clusters of people living together in mutual aid and defense. Thus, clusters became villages, villages grew to towns, and towns gave rise to cities. All along the way, as we huddled close to each other in the cold, dark night, we began to rely on the tools we invented along the journey. The way we obtained food changed. The way we...
Yeah, and it shouldn't have changed. There's just so much propaganda. I'm already over an hour again. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I can barely see the screen anyways. And so that's from Follow the Cabal series. And so yeah, I think I've talked about pretty much everything I wanted to talk about today. So I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their day.